It's been a month and 1 day since we left for the trip, and we've gone about 1,300 miles. And when I last left you, we were in Ennis, Montana, I think. Alright. Well, yeah, that next day, the one that we were supposed to have a little bit of a tailwind and no headwind, that was a lie. That was a horrible, horrible lie. We ended up having a headwind again. The first 10 miles, it was a really small one, but the rest of the way to Yellowstone, it was pretty rough headwind. But we did end up making it to West Yellowstone, and that actually marked a third of the trip being done, so that was good. And then after a quick snack at Arby's with some curly fries and some barbecue sauce, we went by a bicycle shop, got some necessities, and then we headed straight into Yellowstone National Park. We had planned on camping in Yellowstone for 2 nights, and then we would be out of the park, but right as we biked into it, we realized all the campgrounds were full and all the motels and lodges were also full. So we had a bit of a dilemma, but after about 30 minutes of talking to everybody, we found out that hiking and biking camp spots were always open, which was good news. So we ended up camping the first night in Yellowstone. It was freezing, and you could hear every animal there howling, growling, singing, being a deer, stuff like that. So I didn't get too much sleep. Jeb slept like a rock. I'm not really sure how or what was up with that. We met a couple of people from Manchester that night, and they were very nice with funny accents, so that was pretty cool. Moving on to the next day, we had about 15 miles to go to get to Old Faithful, so we figured we'd bike that, eat breakfast at Old Faithful. But those 15 miles, we found a little bike trail that cut it down to about 10 miles or so, so we figured, hey, why not? And as we're going on the bike trail, about a mile into it, we stopped at this beautiful hot spring. I don't remember what it was called, but it was really nice, and very hot. It smelled horrible, but naturally. You'll see pictures on the blog, of course. And we go down the trail a little bit more, about half a mile, and we run into 2 herds of bison. That was pretty interesting because we couldn't really do anything about it except stay on the path and keep pedaling. But as Jeb is the photographer man here, he goes in by himself for a little bit just to get a perfect picture of me going through the buffalo. So he kind of carved a little trail through them, and even though most of them moved, not all of them did, so I'm biking through, and one is just staring at me. We capture this epic picture, so that was really nice. But then they ended up scattering, so that was really cool too. We didn't get charged or killed. Moving along, we get to Old Faithful, and it starts raining, cats and dogs. It is just horrible weather, and the forecast shows that it's not going to clear up anytime soon. So we're sitting at Old Faithful, we're looking at lodges, trying to figure out what we're going to do, where we're going to stay that night. Everywhere's full except for one suite in an Old Faithful inn, and that was $500, so we both quickly said no. That was our only option. So we figured, hey, we'll just go as far as we can go in the rain, set up camp really quick, try not to get wet, and just camp out tonight. And neither of us were looking forward to it, but it was the only option. So right as we were getting on our bikes, a lady, well, an angel, shows up, and she says, well, I'm thinking about leaving the park tonight if y'all just want to have my room at the Old Faithful Inn. So we're just standing there awestruck, like, yes, of course we want to do that. That would be the best thing ever right now. So that worked out very nicely, and thank you again, Susie. Great gal. And we get a good night's sleep, and then next day we end up riding out and making it almost as far as we wanted to until it starts snowing, the weather starts getting bad again, and we get about 10 miles away from a place called Togwati Pass, I believe, and turns out the pass is closed due to about 8 to 10 inches of snow. So we're kind of in a situation, so we ended up riding to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, which is where we are now, and we're just waiting out the weather, but as you can see, the sun is finally coming out, which is great. It's been snowing the past 2 days, and it's just been deathly cold. Not enjoying it too much, but we did find out, luckily or unluckily, depending on what you want to say as far as the price of these items go, winter cycling gear in Florida is not the same as winter cycling gear in the mountains. So we had to buy all new gear yesterday, which is nice because we feel like we're covered with blankets while we're riding now, but the wallet doesn't feel too heavy anymore. Not that it was really heavy to start out with, but it was an analogy. You'll get it. Let's see. So now, tonight we are trying to get to Du Bois or Lander, Wyoming, and then we'll only have a couple more maps until we're done with Section 5, and we'll be in Colorado soon after that. So stay tuned, and I will try to get better at speaking in front of a camera.